this year must really be the worst case scenario for risk management ever, I'm sure.
Well, I must say it must rank with some of the highest. It's coming to light as one of the worst years that we have seen.
So where do companies start? Because you have all those risks. You don't know what they are. So to quote a US senator, you have known unknowns, unknown unknowns, known knowns. Correct. And this is really all about the unknown, isn't it?
That is correct. I think the best thing to do here is to plan. Planning is most imperative, to have crisis management plans in place that are well tested. It's not rocket science. It comes down to basics. For instance, who's in charge of getting the satellite phone charged up? Because when the problem hits and the disaster hits, it's about communication. Putting those plans in place is imperative. Prevention is better than cure.
To what extent do companies have cover for natural disasters like these?
I mean, from an insurance point of view, people normally buy property type insurance to take care of the property loss. In Japan, for instance, there's an earthquake pool, which, as well as a nuclear pool, which will take care of the local claims, which would emanate out of Japan. So currently, estimates are around $2 to $4 billion out of the nuclear pool. And worldwide estimates at the moment are floating anywhere between $25 million and $35 million in terms of billion dollars, in terms of estimated insurance losses. But I think we'll have to wait a while for that full impact to come to light.
Well, we know that the insurance industry is very global. Aon, for a start, operating here in South Africa. We have the big reinsurers also operating globally, so the big ones like Swiss Re, Munich Re, Zurich Re. So does the cost get shared between all these guys?
It's a common principle of insurance. So direct insurers will go to reinsurers, and I'm sure direct insurers wouldn't take 100% of a nuclear risk in a country like Japan, where you are faced with a history of earthquake. So yes, you are quite correct. It gets spread around the world in the reinsurance market.
So at the end of the day, when we do get that final bill from the Japanese disasters, is it the policyholders who are going to be suffering?
Hopefully not. I think the dynamic of insurance in the world is changing. And the view is we used to look at soft market cycles and hard market cycles, where what's happening in Japan would cause in the next 2 years a hard market cycle insurance. I think today it moves towards we can always expect a soft market cycle with spikes in certain industries. So for instance, the nuclear industry will take a spike. Earthquake will take a spike. Those are the areas where most of the insurance claims will be and will be paid out of.
So you're saying the insurance cycle will actually turn because of the disasters we've seen this year?
There will be an impact. I mean, there's a lot of loss in the Australias. There's a lot of mining loss in the Australias. So from a niche mining point of view, I can expect that the rates on mining risk would change in the foreseeable future.
Well, we talked about insuring your buildings and your infrastructure, but of course, as you mentioned, in Australia, mining loss, so loss of productivity, lots of factories in Japan have shut down. They can't operate. Toyota is not making cars at this stage, so you're losing output at the same time. You've also had a huge loss of human lives. Are these things that are coverable as well, such as the loss of productivity?
Yes, and I think it comes down more to the loss of revenue. So under conventional insurance, you would have your property damage insurance followed by business interruption. And that business interruption, if calculated correctly, would cover you and put you back into the same economic position you would have been in had the loss not occurred.
How do you begin to plan as a company for scenarios like we have seen at this stage? Because it's not just about insurance cover, is it?
No, it's not. Insurance cover is really the last stage. That's about risk transfer. Mitigation of risk is something the company needs to do themselves. And that would start, in my view, with very good scenario planning, where we look at things like maximum event risk. In the case of Japan, as an example, which is current, what would the effect of a Category 9 earthquake be on my business? And how would that not only impact myself, but impact my customers as well as my suppliers?
Who does that scenario planning for a company?
Companies like Aon, other companies like Marsh internationally, they would have people with that type of scenario planning.
So insurance brokers would actually help with this scenario planning?
Yes.
And obviously different companies carry different risk profiles.
Very much so. Risk profile, risk appetite, and risk tolerance is different in each and every company and each and every industry sector.
A company sitting in South Africa might think, well, we're quite lucky here. We're unlikely to have a tsunami in Johannesburg. Haven't had many big earthquakes before. Do they still need to go through this whole process?
Yes, I would say so. Let's take a company operating in Mpumalanga, for instance. You're sitting at the bottom of the Rift Valley. The Rift Valley historically has shown a lot of earthquake activity. So using earthquake as an example, I would not just throw away doing a maximum event risk calculation or scenario plan on an earthquake.
Systems, IT systems, and we have seen a move towards cloud computing and having your IT systems hosted off-site. Is this something that companies should be considering? Because if you do have damage to your infrastructure, if your computers are all broken, if your network is down, you can still access information.
Imperative. A good business continuity management plan as well as a disaster recovery plan will take cognizance of your IT and would certainly make those recommendations.
Risk versus return, or you have to think of the costs involved with all of those, and many
Yes.
companies obviously can't afford that.
Correct.
But then I suppose that goes back to the risk profile of a company again.
And the amount of tolerance you have to that risk. Once you've decided what risk you can take, you can decide what you want to transfer. And that's where financial instruments and insurance play a role.
Steyn, when do you think we'll have a clearer idea of just how expensive the recent disasters will be for the industry?
It's a difficult question, but I would say probably within the next 3 months or so, we'd have a very good idea in terms of what the actual insurance cost of that disaster will be.